Have you ever felt, well, trapped? Like you're stuck in a loop, repeating the exact same painful patterns over and over again, no matter how hard you try to break free? If you're nodding along right now, you're definitely not alone. And in this explainer, we're going to dig into why that happens and, more importantly, how we can finally get out of it.
You know the feeling. It's that same argument with your partner, almost word for word. It's that same relationship dynamic that just seems to follow you from person to person. Or, and this is a big one, it's that same act of self-sabotage, just when things are starting to go really well. It feels like you're stuck on chapter 3 of a book you're desperate to finish.
But here's a thought, a really powerful one. What if these frustrating loops, these patterns, aren't signs that you're broken or failing? What if they're actually messages? Signals from deep inside trying to get your attention, asking to be understood so you can finally move on. So, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the real problem with patterns. Then, we'll walk through 4 huge lessons pulled from ancient wisdom, Stoic and Eastern philosophies. And we'll wrap it all up with the practical steps to finally break free by forging a new identity. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, a lot of us think if I just change my job or my city or my partner, things will be different. We try to escape our patterns by changing our scenery. But the real truth? The patterns follow you. Why? Because they don't live out there. They live inside you. Until you get to the root of it, the story just repeats. All right, let's dive into our first lesson. And this one comes straight from the Stoics. They had this, well, kind of radical idea about why we suffer. They believed it's not the events in our lives that hurt us, but our interpretation of those events. The philosopher Epictetus just nailed it with this quote. I mean, this is the master key right here. It creates a little bit of space, a gap between what actually happens and the story we tell ourselves about what happens. And in that gap, that's where our freedom lies. So let's make this super real. On the left, you have a simple, neutral fact. They didn't reply to my text. That's it. That's all that happened. But on the right, that's where we add our judgment, our story. I'm not important. See, I always get abandoned. That story, not the text message, is what triggers the pain and kicks off the whole pattern. Now for our second big lesson. We're going to shift gears from Stoicism to a more Eastern way of thinking. This perspective teaches us that our most stubborn patterns aren't just random glitches. Nope, they are signals pointing directly to our deepest unmet needs. Let's break this down. For instance, if you have a deep, unmet need to feel safe, that can show up as a pattern of avoiding emotions or intimacy. Or a need to feel valued, that can easily turn into overworking and people-pleasing. Your patterns, even the ones you hate, are often just clumsy attempts by your mind to get these basic needs met. So here's the game-changing question you have to ask yourself. Instead of judging your pattern, get curious. Ask, what is this pattern trying to give me? You'll almost always find some kind of protective intention hiding underneath. It's trying to give you safety or control or validation. It's just going about it in a really unhelpful way. Our third lesson comes from Taoism, which has this beautiful idea of the universe as a very patient, very persistent teacher. The Taoist view is basically this. If you don't learn a lesson the first time, life will just serve it up to you again, and again and again, and maybe a little louder each time, until you finally get it. Think of your life as having its own curriculum. These repeat situations, they're not failures. They're invitations. They're cosmic pop quizzes designed to help you grow. They're opportunities to finally develop the courage or the self-worth or the honesty that you were missing before. The moment you learn the lesson, the test just disappears. Okay, lesson number 4 is backed by modern neuroscience, and it's a bit of a mind bender. Our brains are wired for one thing above all else, survival. And to your brain, what's familiar feels safe. This means your mind would rather repeat a familiar pain than risk an unfamiliar but potentially better future. It's the whole devil you know thing. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius was way ahead of his time on this. He knew that whatever you think about consistently becomes your reality. If your thoughts are always anxious or self-critical, well, that becomes your emotional home. It's a toxic comfort zone for sure, but it's familiar, and so your brain just clings to it. This is a question to keep in your back pocket. The next time you feel that old, familiar urge to react in the same old way, just ask yourself this. It helps you see that it's not your true self talking. It's just your comfort zone putting on a mask and pretending to be you to keep you safe. So we've looked at the why, we get it. Now for the good part, the how.
How do we actually break free? This is where we shift from just understanding the problem to actively fixing it. And it all comes down to two things: awareness and identity. You see, patterns absolutely thrive on autopilot. They love it when you're not paying attention. So the way to break them is to interrupt that autopilot with a little bit of awareness. Next time you feel a pattern kicking in, try this. 1, just pause. 2, take one single deep breath. 3, name it. Just say to yourself, there's that defensiveness, or okay, I'm about to people please. And 4, choose a different response. Anything. Every time you do this, you're literally rewiring your brain. And this right here brings us to the deepest truth of all of this. Real, lasting change isn't just about stopping a behavior. It's about changing your identity. You have to become a person who simply doesn't need that old pattern to get by anymore. So ask yourself this question. The goal isn't just to stop being an overthinker. The goal is to become someone who trusts themselves and their decisions. The goal isn't to stop people-pleasing. It's to become someone whose self-worth comes from within. You see the shift? That's where the real power is. So let's put this all together in a little mind map. The ultimate goal, the North Star, is to become someone who no longer needs the pattern. And how do we get there? 1, you separate the fact from your story, like the Stoics taught us. 2, you dig deep and uncover the hidden need. 3, you learn the lesson life is trying to teach you. 4, you consciously step outside that painful familiarity trap. And 5, you practice that mindful awareness to make new choices in the moment. That's the path. Look, at the end of the day, please remember this. Your patterns are not a life sentence. They are not proof that you are fundamentally flawed. They are just emotional teachers, sending you messages you were never taught how to read. And the fact that they're so loud right now, that's just a sign that you are finally ready to learn. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Which one of your patterns, which one of your loops are you ready to stop fighting with? Which one are you ready to finally see not as an enemy, but as a teacher you are ready to learn from? The answer to that, that's your starting point.
Like and subscribe for timeless wisdom.